Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi was born in Zurich, Switzerland in 1746. His father died when he was just 5 years old. He was then raised by his mother and their faithful servant, Barbara Schmidt. He lived in poverty for most of the rest of his life. As a young child, Pestalozzi spent a lot of time with his grandfather, who was a minister. His grandfather took the young Pestalozzi along with him as he ministered to the poor families of his parish. This made impression on Johann as a child and motivated him to dedicate the rest of his life to educating disadvantaged children. At first, Pestalozzi thought he might want to be a minister just like his grandfather. However, in his first pre-trial sermon, he failed miserably and realized that was not the career for him. He then thought he might want to be a lawyer, but realized he did not have the disposition for that. His next career choice was in agriculture. He wanted to be a farmer, and he combined his love of agriculture and education for his first school. Pestalozzi's first school was in Neurath. This was the school that combined his love of agriculture with education. Contrary to traditional methods of the time, he educated both boys and girls, poor and orphaned children. Here he took in the children, he fed them, he gave them a dormitory to sleep in, and he taught them to work in the fields to farm, to grow their own food. In the wintertime, they would spin cotton into thread and make their clothes, and he would give them these clothes. The girls would also do handicrafts, and they would sell them, and his goal was to have this support the school. Unfortunately, he was not successful. Many parents, as soon as they received the new clothes from him, would take their children out of the school. Plus, he was very kind-hearted and would give to anybody, and was not a very good administrator and could control the finances. So unfortunately, after 5 years, he was in so much debt that Neurath had to close. After the failure of Neurath, Pestalozzi started writing in order to support his family and to disperse his educational theory to the world. His first book was Leonard and Gertrude, followed by Gertrude Teaches Her Children. Gertrude was a loving character based on his mother, and it transmitted to being the caring teachers of the world today. In 1799, Pestalozzi was able to return to work as an educator. He was put in charge of an orphanage of 80 children. It was here that he realized that school needed to have a home-like feel in order for children to feel emotionally secure. It was then that Pestalozzi started running his school at Bergdorf. Here he really developed his naturalist theory of education using object lessons. He believed children should construct their knowledge based on what they see and do, and not have knowledge transmitted to them through teachers. This was the beginning of the use of manipulatives in the classroom. After just 4 years, a new federal government came to power and repossessed the Bergdorf Castle. Luckily, the municipality of Yverdon allowed Pestalozzi to use a castle there for his school. Philosophers and educators came from all over the world to watch Pestalozzi in action, to watch him use his methods and learn from him, and then be able to return back to their countries with knowledge of his famous methods.